Hey everybody, thank you so much for stopping by the channel. I'm Todd and this is Sweet Tea Guitars. Welcome to episode 7 of the Ultimate Telecaster build. Alright you guys, we left off in the last video. Our body was getting a bunch of sanding work done to it. I've spent about 5 hours hand and random orbit sanding this body. I do still have a little bit of work to do back here, but I am super happy with the way this rear relief carve went. My belly carve's nice and flat and even. So let's get going on this thing. Before we do this, however, you guys, Radian Tools, I need to thank these guys for being a sponsor of the Great Guitar Build-Off 2023, which as most of you guys know by now, I won the scratch build category anyway. I chose a binding router bit set that cuts a 1.0 millimeter, a 1.5, a 2.0, a 2.5, and a 3 millimeter binding channel. On this particular guitar, we're cutting a 2.5 millimeter binding channel. I am using white pearl celluloid binding, and this binding comes in at about 2.6 millimeters. So I will have a little sanding to do, and I've checked it all the way around the edge, and we are going to be able to cover the entire joint with this binding, and that's what I really want. Let's get this channel cut, you guys. I am excited and anxious about this. We're going to cut as far around here as we can get. I'll stop off at my tape right here since I've got a little indentation where my jack hole is, and I was reminded about that in the last video that I released. So thank you guys for reminding me about that. I've almost got enough room there to make it, but what I may have to do is just shallow up that cut a little bit, and then I'll finish cutting that with a chisel. So now I got a binding channel cut all the way around my body with the exception of right here where my jack's at. From now on, I will take the advice of one of my subscribers and I'll cut this binding channel before I drill the jack hole. But oh yeah, we can get that. We're real close already. Just want to pare that away. And we're good. So we're going to start right there. This is Q1, by the way. Q1 masking tape. You can get this from the spray source. And what I'm going to do to start with is just dampen this area down right here with this acetone. Okay. There it goes. And there we go, you guys, binding installed. I've left that loose right there because I knew I was going to bring this cut down a little more. Now we'll take our chisel and shave this off right here. Now we've got that sorted. So I'm going to take some 220 grit sandpaper on my random orbit sander. We're going to sand this top, and I'll show you guys some clips of this, but we're not going to go too deep off into the sanding part. That is looking so, so good, you guys. I am so pleased. All right, you guys, we're back in the shop. It's like 15 minutes till 9 on Friday night. I've sanded on this body since about 6 p.m. this evening, and I am happy with where I am. Everything's sanded. The back and the sides are sanded up to 360. The top is sanded to 600. The poplar being so much softer, I didn't want to carry it to 600 because I was afraid that I would start burnishing the wood. We're going to use penetrating epoxy to seal up the sides and the back and hopefully harden up this poplar a little bit. I didn't want to inhibit any of that absorption. I am using Simtech Easy Sanding Sealer 28 by 50 or 28x50. This stuff mixes with MEKP as a catalyst. All right, you want this nice and blended because any of this that does not get hardener will not harden and it'll be a gunky mess. We do not want that. We're just going to pour this on. I've got a hard black squeegee right here. We're going to take this t-shirt cloth I've got right here and we're just going to start to rub this into that grain. This is going to seal this wood up really nice. If I need one more application of this, we'll use that. But for right now, what I really want to do is just get this top sealed up really nicely. You know, you can see what that does to the wood. Darkens it up a little bit, highlights everything. I'm going to clean up everything. We'll let this dry for a little bit. We're going to move our attentions to the neck, get the heel carved, and try to get these frets put in here. So let's get that done. I'll be right back. All right, you guys, we're going to work on this neck heel now. This right here is a tapered, fine-cut Iwasaki. This was one of the prizes that I selected from Crimson for winning the Great Guitar Build-Off. But I'm telling you guys, this is the absolute best carving tool outside of the Shinto that I own. And I've got 7 Iwasakis. This is my favorite at this point. And I love all my Iwasakis, but for this kind of stuff, this little thing right here is just awesome. I want to make sure that I'm working this area right here before I start to take this extra thickness down right here, because I don't want to create a valley. I love this part of a guitar build. I love all parts of it, but you know, you can really create some nice art during this phase of the build. All right, so as you can see, I'm starting to pull that shape in right there. What I want to do is create a fluid shape that runs up into this ramp onto the body so it's really comfortable. I want to make sure that I don't leave any hard edges right here on this thing. I know I can go at least to this back line, you know, without having to worry too much about it. So that's what we're doing. All right, you guys, I decided to pull a late one in the shop tonight. It is 11:32. I've been sanding on this thing for quite a while now, and I love that heel. The shape's nice. The headstock transition's great. This is a super comfortable neck. I'm sanded up to 220 right now. We're gonna take some 360 grit Super Acrylics, and I'm gonna sand this neck to 360. And this Super Acrylics does not take very long, you guys. This stuff is super sharp. 360 grit. Nice. We're gonna go to 600 grit. I'm gonna sand the back. All right, you guys, 600 grit. I want to work on this area behind the nut just a little. I sorted out that area behind the nut. I polished up the fretboard. It's sanded up to 1500 grit, and I know I carried it to 5000 to start with. But after the epoxy got put on, I wanted to sand it again. We're going to put another coat of epoxy on this thing shortly. I've got it mixed up in this cup right here, and we're going to use this to harden up this poplar. All right, this is well blended. And that poplar's lovely. It's got a nice glow to it. So I've wiped down the fretboard with penetrating epoxy. I'm going to buff this back. It's been sitting here for about 15 minutes. I don't want an overabundance on the fretboard. I wiped the neck down with it as well. That is a cool neck right there, you guys. Check out that heel. I'm really happy with how this guitar's turning out so far. I really am. That penetrating epoxy really did a great job at highlighting the grain and deepening up that golden color of this poplar. Anyway, you guys, I'm exhausted. I gotta call it a night. I will see you guys in the morning. Thank you once again for stopping by the channel. See you guys tomorrow. We're going to pick back up right where we left off the other night. We're going to pan down here, get the second coat of sealer applied to the top of this body. That should be more than enough, and then I'll saturate this rag down with that as well. All right, and that's pretty much about as simple as it gets right there. I'm going to grab my neck. We're going to throw some frets in that neck. So on this neck, I'm going to go with Centom's 2.3 millimeter wide, 1.4 millimeter tall. These are pretty much a vintage fret with the exception of the tallness. I'm going for a tall, narrow fret on this guitar. I've got this fret wire. This is 18% extra hard nickel silver Centom's fret wire. And that's what we're going to use. So let's pan down and get these frets cut. And I want to radius these slightly tighter than what my neck or what my fretboard is cut at. On this particular neck, that's a 12-inch radius. So we're going to radius these fret wire at like 11 or a 10-inch radius. Check that radius. Yeah, that's a little less than a 10-inch radius, so we're good on that. I'm going to call that good. Now, let's get this fret wire cut. There's our frets. I'm going to get my buffer set up. We're going to buff the face of this fretboard. We're going to install those frets in it. You can see already it's putting a nice gloss on that thing. Now there's nothing on this fretboard other than penetrating epoxy. We'll go to the soft finish pad. So we're going to use some of this tray wax right here, which is just clear paste wax, Carnauba, Candelia. Just get that loaded up with some wax. There we go. Nice hard finish as well. For the first time in Sweet Tea history, we're about to use a fret press. I want to get this done. I'm going to try it with the fret press for the first few, and then I'm going to finish off with the hammer to see which way I like better, and I'll let you guys know after we get done with this. Let's get some frets put in this neck. I usually do not use super glue, but I've seen so many guys on the internet who do. Guys I respect, and we're going to follow their lead and use super glue in the slots. You're not really gluing the fret in, you're filling the void underneath. Now we're going to clip these tangs, my Centom's fret tang nippers. I'm going about halfway in, then we'll check ourselves to make sure we didn't go too far, and we didn't. All right, let's wick some glue down in that slot. First time I've ever used a fret press, you guys. You'll have to bear with me. I've dented up my fretboard. Luckily, it's underneath the fret, so it's not that big of a deal. But that's the problem. If you don't have it in there perfect, you'll dent up your fretboard. I don't like that. I like that better. All right, you guys, so I've got the neck fretted, and I have decided that I like to hammer them in more than I like using that fret press. I don't like the loss of control I feel like it gives me. Now, maybe I'd get used to that eventually, but I've gotten so used to hammering frets in, and I've invested quite a bit of money in mallets and tools that allow me to do this, that I think I'm just going to continue to do this by hand and not use the fret press. I'll figure out something to do with that press later on anyway. But here we are, you guys. I got a fretted neck, 22 frets. I love the fretboard. I think everything turned out gorgeous. It's a beautiful, beautiful neck. I got a couple of issues that I want to tell you guys about, and they're not real issues. They've just changed my mind about a few things. I've got some staining on this poplar right here, and it's not terrible, but it's there, and right here near my strap button hole. And you can see I've got some mineral streaks in here and things like that, and I knew based on these spots in the back of this poplar that I was liable to run into that kind of thing. What I'm thinking about doing is I've mixed myself up some black cherry pearl aerosol paint. I think what I'm going to do, and for multiple reasons. First of all, I think it'd give me better contrast between that white poplar and the white pearl binding. I can spray a burst pattern that still allows me to keep this lovely curly maple strip and this East Indian rosewood stripe that I did up the back. High gloss the whole guitar. So that's changed a couple of things for me. But it's also solving a couple of issues, which kind of leads me to say, I think we're going to wrap the video up right here. But before we wrap this thing up completely, let's get a look at this and how it's going to look in the end, at least from the front. I am really super happy with this thing, you guys. It's lightweight. I'll bet this guitar weighs 5 pounds maybe in its current form. I've still got hardware and pickups and tuners and all that stuff to get on here, but this guitar is not going to be overly heavy. I feel certain that we're going to come in around that 8-pound mark. I'm going to high gloss this whole guitar with 2K automotive urethane instead of nitrocellulose lacquer. The reason I've decided to do that is time. Nitrocellulose takes at least 7 days to cure. The clear coat that I've got in an aerosol can, which is a 2K product, will be cured in 2 days. And I can go ahead and start level sanding, polishing this body. I'm not going to glue the neck in until after I get that work done. It'll keep me from having to fiddle around with a bunch of tape up back here where my neck joint is. I don't want to paint any of this. I want this beautiful neck to come right up against that black cherry pearl. I think it's going to add yet another thing that takes this into the ultimate realm, so to speak. So I hope you guys are cool with that. We did get a bunch of work done over the past week. I'm grain filled on the front. I'm happy with that. We're grain filled and sealed up all over the body. We got frets in the neck. My fretboard's polished nicely. My neck's pretty much done with the exception of a little bit of heel work that I've got to do back here on this heel carb. But we're making good progress, you guys. In the next video, we're going to take care of the paint on the back and the sides of this guitar. We'll buff this thing up to a high gloss and hopefully get the neck glued in and start assembling this thing. I'll go ahead and get the frets level crowned and polished before we glue the neck into the body. This thing's coming down to the wire though. You guys, thank you so much for all your support. Thank you for all the comments you leave for me. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys next weekend. Don't forget to head over to Geo's channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell on my channel and on Geo's channel. We're trying to grow together, and we're about to start the Les Paul build in the next couple of weeks here, so you guys be on the lookout for that video. I'll see you guys next weekend, and as always, peace and love.